Oh, good. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. I'm joined by Christy, and this is what we look like in real time. We're going to be reviewing Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 6, the series finale. We're going to be going over this in an actual review-like fashion. So we're going to start off just by kind of talking about our overall thoughts. We're going to be going spoiler-filled, so we're going to just talk about whatever we feel about this episode. And then depending on how this live stream goes, we may look at some comments afterwards, but the main focus is for the people watching even later, throughout the night into the next day, as to what we thought of Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 6. So this was freaking it. Christy, what'd you think? We knew a lot of this stuff was going to happen. We knew everything was going to happen.
Which we said in our past leaked video even, and I mean the comments are already coming in. Like,
we're going to focus on
first. Why have a Night's Watch? I agree with that. Why? There's nothing to guard anymore. So is it just because of what Tyrion said? Is it's for, imps and rejects and everything else? They're just going to be sent to the wall now when they don't want to be parts of their family? Or when their family doesn't want them?
It's a punishment
zone. To the wall.
That's all it is.
But then Jon left the wall, technically. He went beyond the wall. So is he going to start his own thing? I'd like to think he starts his own thing at this point, because at least he has some kind of purpose he's served. But overall, I feel like this episode, story-wise, writing-wise, not good. But in terms of how it was shot and everything, I loved it. There was tons of really cool scenes throughout the entire episode. I loved the moment Daenerys walked up and then Drogon, put up his wings and they looked like they were her wings. That was a really cool moment.
A lot of imagery, a lot of things and you said as we ended, a lot of really nice shots. Overall, this episode looked super, super beautiful. And there were, every single shot, whether it was the beginning, whether it was when they were all saying goodbye, and we got the different shots of each of the characters saying goodbye, really, really good. Again, an episode kind of just wasted potential of what it freaking could be.
And it's because it was just very rushed. And one thing that really stood out to me was a conversation between Tyrion and Jon, even sort of near the very beginning, when Tyrion said, not in the beginning because Tyrion's in jail at this point, but he asked Jon, would you have done it? And it became like a very big moment, and I feel like that moment to me was just kind of like, yeah, he probably would have done it. If it was Arya who got beheaded on that wall, he would have lost his marbles and done it too. I feel like he would have, honestly, because look at when Rickon was shot while he was, in battle. He charged the whole thing. He just forgot all his plans and went for it. It's the same thing. So that moment really kind of stood out to me. But man, I don't know. This episode, I loved the music. I loved the filming. I loved the CGI.
It had good pacing. That was for what it was doing, we knew that Daenerys was going to die before the ending. Yeah. And we kind of thought the beginning to middle, and then I think it was like the 42-minute mark. Yeah. Around then is when she died, and I did like that they spent a long time on her death. It had Jon kind of mourn over her, and then it had Drogon do that whole thing. But we got a lot of time to process. It was Daenerys.
I think it was a stupid moment, honestly.
Well, I didn't like it, but I like that we at least got some time to be like, okay, Daenerys is dead.
I wanted Drogon to burn Jon right there. I feel like that would have been a better ending for all of this than what we got, because then after that moment it just cuts to black, and then you're just all of a sudden everyone's just sitting around, and who sent the Raven to get all of those people there? And Robb and Aaron, he still looks as much as a baby as ever, and then the new Prince of Dorne, he's just kind of dressed up, and that's like, oh, so that must be that guy. And then there's 3 other people. You're like, I assume you're Lord of something because you're sitting there, and Edmure, shut up and sit down again. That's pretty much what they kept saying to him. He'd stand up and he was still as awkward and didn't learn a thing as ever.
Yep. A couple moments of them kind of, I feel like, forcing something they thought would be cool, which is pretty much what this entire season has been about. But the whole trial thing was, I think, just taking a lot of jumps unnecessarily with showing us all of them. And it's what did you all assemble? Who caught you up? What happened as soon as Jon was done with Daenerys? Did he go down and said, I just murdered the queen?
Yeah.
Grey Worm, take me in.
Did he just sit there crying over her bloody...
Yeah, and then somebody walked...
Did Grey Worm say, where's the queen? And Jon's like, I killed her.
Yeah, true.
And then there's no body.
Yeah.
So Jon could have walked away, and everyone would have just thought Drogon did it at that point.
I thought about that, too. They could have done, a framing thing where it's who even knows? It could have been she just went away. Yeah. Because no one knows who the dragon is.
And you know what? She didn't even get the luxury of getting stabbed by Longclaw. He used an unnamed sword that he just had.
But even, I mean, one of my most disliked parts of the episode was what I feel like maybe some people would even like is the ending when they're talking to all the mains.
Yeah, when all of the council
the
is sitting
council.
around.
I really didn't like that. I thought that
it was a joke.
I thought that they made it a joke. For some reason, they felt like this was the last time. Because we did like the ending. I mean, they show Sansa, they show Arya, they show Jon. They keep going back and forth. We get to see them on their adventure. That was really cool.
I liked
Shot
it because
great.
it was kind of like confirming that those are the three main characters.
Yeah, like these are the three that we really care about showing. But then everybody else got that last little meeting, which I just thought was a complete joke with making fun of Tyrion. They're like, oh, he's not even mentioned in the story of everything that happened. And then,
what kind of crap is that too? He literally single-handedly helped Daenerys go mad.
Yeah.
You know, he gave
But-
her bad advice after bad advice, and he doesn't get. And then he saved everyone technically, and by uniting the council. But then he doesn't get.
But it was just an example of them all kind of going over one of their meetings. Like, well, let's talk about silver and who's going to build the ships and who's going to do this and who's going to do that. And it's just like a casual conversation, and maybe that's to show that the future is bright, where they are just going to have these fun kind of banters and stuff, and nothing is going to be, unpleasant. But it's like, is that how you're going to show it? And then Bran wheels himself in there. We get Podrick wheeling him in, and we get to see his huge thing with armor.
Poor Podrick. I mean, honestly, he got the short end of the stick. Podrick has to live out his days taking care of Bran now. Podrick is Bran's
Well, he looks happy though. He was all like.
I mean, I know he's the caretaker to the king.
Yeah.
So it's like a high honor. But what I think, poor Podrick, he deserves better.
He did, but it was that, and then Bran's like, "Where's Drogon?"
A lot of these comments we agree. We think this episode was awful, and yeah, why did you leave Tyrion out of the story if Sam helped him write the story? Then why was Tyrion not mentioned when Tyrion helped Sam, or through a lot too?
It was honestly filmed. That whole thing was filmed as like the joke. He was fixing the chairs, right, because he's all nervous for the first council meeting, and then he said, "Well, what's he saying of me?" I thought Sam was just going to say like, "I can't say the." I thought he was going to say like swear words, and I thought he would say like, I can't say the words that he said."
I thought he was going to describe him as like a monkey, a demon monkey.
Yeah.
You know how they described him back in the day. I thought it was going to be like, well, he said you were a demon monkey.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be something
but
like
that.
But
all of that was
instead
still.
It was like, you're not mentioned at all.
Yeah.
You're just nothing.
Yeah, and then we get Bronn, and he.
And why is Bronn there? I get it. I guess he's the new king, Lord of Highgarden, and everything. But why did Bran need to come in to be wheeled in just for him to say, "I'm gonna go find Drogon, peace"? Yeah. And then you don't. At the very end, it kind of bummed me out too. You don't even get to see what Drogon is doing. In my mind, he's doing some Norman Bates situation with Daenerys' body. She's sitting up and he's talking to her, sitting on some rock by himself, because what else can he do now?
That truly made no sense. Where's Drogon? Well, he was seen going east. Oh, I'll go find him. Well, then why did you need to wheel yourself in there to just tell them that? Like, you could have just didn't. That's literally your power.
Yeah.
But, as an episode, it was another long one. I don't know. Like, the beginning, it was cool seeing the aftermath and seeing everything destroyed.
But at the same time, not, because it was very quiet and empty. And where were the Northmen? And there were so many Unsullied and Dothraki. Like, where did they come from?
Yeah, the unrealistic part still.
And on top of,
Daenerys got her wardrobe changed in a heartbeat. If she was on Drogon, she again was not CG'd on him when she. I actually was looking for that and thinking, well, maybe she's just gonna walk up and Drogon, like they're detached. But no, they made a point that Drogon was there and she walked from him. But then when he was flying overhead, you could see the top of him, because they made a point to. You could see it, and she wasn't there. So just more
But that
bad
scene
CG.
with the wings was still really cool.
That was really cool.
That was really cool.
The imagery and how it looked, and having all the Unsullied lined up and the Dothraki lined up, that was all, it was well shot. Everything was well shot. When these guys make Star Wars, it's going to be the best looking Star Wars movie ever. Okay, ever. But it's going to make no sense.
Because they don't.
Well, they don't write, or they don't make it.
They don't do that part.
Yeah.
But I will say, though, I mean, all the negative, there's so much negative, trust me, but there is positive. There were a few things of this episode I really liked. I loved the moment of Brienne writing Jaime's, story into the book. I liked that moment. I thought it was really nice and just kind of a good tribute to Jaime, even though he died completely off his character. But, in the end, he did die with who he wanted as his queen, or not who he really wanted, but who he devoted to his life to as his queen. And I like that she wrote all the moments. She wrote everything Jaime went through, and she knew everything Jaime went through. And
she had a hard time writing it, like parts of it too. Which was cool.
She was like tearing up.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really liked that part. And then another part was Arya and Jon saying goodbye. That part made me tear up. It was a great moment. I loved that she was like, "What's west of Westeros?" She still kept that in her mind, and that's where she's going. I kind of had a feeling that's what she was gonna do too. And I love that. I love that moment. I think that moment alone was the best part of the entire episode. It did make me tear up because I loved Arya and Jon's moment together, and that was it. That was it.
Without a doubt, that was the best scene.
You know, he pet Ghost, but at this point, did he really deserve to pet Ghost? No, he didn't, because it's a little too late, Jon. But whatever.
The very end, like even after Daenerys died, onward, it was so conflicting because it's like I like seeing these scenes. And it's like me processing like this is the last time we're gonna see all these characters in one spot interacting, and that's really cool. And it's great to see Sam back and all these characters that weren't in the last couple episodes. The goodbye was definitely like they absolutely nailed it, but it's still like looking at it and being like, well, I'm still sad that we're saying goodbye to everybody.
Yeah.
But just like they wasted. Like I feel like I should feel more. And I'm trying to like eliminate the parts in my head where I'm like, well, this didn't make sense. This is bad. This didn't make sense. Like I'm trying to eliminate that because I'm like, well, I still want to love the ending that they're doing.
The thing that really
it's just so conflicting.
Is they said the ending was going to be bittersweet. I don't feel bittersweet. I just
Daenerys.
feel
if you're a
bitter.
Daenerys fan, then
I think the moment between Jon and Arya was bittersweet because they both can't see each other again. They basically have said that's bittersweet, but that's it because I mean even the whole plot of it is ridiculous. You're telling me Grey Worm would have just put Jon in jail for telling him he killed Daenerys? He probably would have just sliced his neck right there. But apparently he just put him in jail. I think that's ridiculous. There were so many things even I don't know. It was just so much.
Yep. Overall this season made a lot of mistakes, and it did some good, and there were some strong points to this episode, but I think just overall, looking at it and knowing that it's the end and stuff. But yeah, in terms of if it was like a bad thing, or in terms of bittersweetness, like they kind of got everybody, the good guys, kind of won, and Daenerys, and another thing too, with the whole talk with Jon, knowing that like we knew she was gonna die, we knew he was gonna stab her, and as soon as they were going for the kiss, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be that cliche they kiss as he kills her scene, but it's like she made so many verbal cues that like sealed the deal. Like I didn't like that Tyrion's little speech, and who was it? Was Arya that did the other mini speech?
Yeah, she said what if Sansa wouldn't.
Oh yeah, I thought that was gonna be it, and I was gonna say like that would be the worst motivation for Jon to kill. But then when it came to Tyrion, it was a little bit more because he did kind of give some reasons. But even that, I feel like Jon wasn't even won over by his argument until he said the sister part at the very, very end. I feel like that is what made Jon do it.
I don't even think he was won over in that part. I think it was at the part where Daenerys said,
yeah.
Like, no, we have to be the ones to.
They don't have a choice. He said, "What about everybody else? They don't have a choice."
And then he kind of just suddenly clicked in his head, and he was like, "All right, you're done."
He said, I mean, he was literally crying and like begging for her to say something to convince him.
Yeah.
And she said like 2 or 3 kind of like that cringe, evil, worthy thing that it's like, well, he has to kill you now because you literally are insane. And again, to the people that have watched all our other stuff, like we know she went to this. It's not impossible that she could have done this.
I just think it was too rushed. I think
it just felt
even in the books, it's hinted at. It's hinted at consistently. It's hinted at repeatedly throughout the show. There's little things here and there. And I know there's going to be a lot of people like, oh, but remember what she did to the Masters? No, what she did to the Masters was because of what they did to other people. So yeah, there have been hints and there have been things leading along the way. But then in a matter of like. Literally, one thing I saw before, too, was even saying, in a matter of 3 episodes, we've had 3 different villains. And I feel like if you've had 3 different major villains in 3 episodes, something is a bit too rushed.
Yeah.
And I think HBO, they gave them the 10 episodes and even wanted them to extend to multiple seasons, and they said, no, you needed those 10 episodes. You needed more seasons because this was too rushed and too just... I don't even know, just a slap in the face, honestly, to the fans because it's like, we waited 2 years for this?
Yep. It honestly made it, like, as soon as the episode started, it set Daenerys up as the main villain, and Grey Worm was that secondary. It was the Cersei Euron thing.
Yeah.
And they set that up in the first 2 minutes. It's like, come on, like, all this character growth, all this development throughout all this time, and then she says those cringeworthy things, and it's like, I feel like it could have been more heartbreaking. I even told you it was like an Anakin Padme. That's not a good thing. That Anakin Padme scene was cringeworthy and bad and felt forced and felt just like bad writing. That's what this was.
Yeah.
Daenerys, like, if this was built up more and we knew that this was happening, and then she says these things, but maybe not even all in one. She literally said them back to back to back, talking John. If this was kind of talked about and she said one of these bad things in one episode, then you're kind of like, you keep saying the wrong things, you keep thinking about this all wrong. But instead, it's like John's still conflicted. He's like 50-50, I may kill you, I may not. And then Daenerys, in 3 sentences, seals the deal and proves to him that, oh, I need to kill you because you're insane, because you just told me 3 things that no sane person will ever say. So, yeah.
Either way, though, I mean, I liked the way that they did it, though. Yes, it was rushed, but the way Daenerys went into madness this episode, I actually did like. I liked the way she kind of still had it in her head that she was doing right. And I like that moment where she walked up to the throne, even when was like my generations of my family have been here, and I'm finally here. Yeah. I like that.
She didn't even get to sit in it though.
No,
she didn't get to sit. I thought she was going to sit.
She turned around to sit, and then Jon showed up, and the moment Drogon burned it down too, it was like a really cool moment. And I was laughing that moment, honestly, when Drogon was like looking at Jon like, I want to kill you because you just killed my mom, but then he was conflicted, and it was like, so, okay, so there's 2 conflictions here.
You're kind of like my dad, but you killed my mom, so I don't know what to do.
He had like a moment where he's like, breathing fire into the sky, and then he's just freaking out over everything, and then all of a sudden he just burns the throne, takes her body, and leaves. And it was a cool moment. Like, there was a lot of cool shots. That does not mean or give even any excuse for this episode to say it was good, because it was not. It wasn't good at all. I think that there was a lot of cool moments. There was definitely a lot of cool CGI. There was a lot of cool graphics. The way things, we've said in the beginning, a lot of cool shots. But the story was crap. And Sansa's story especially was crap. In the end, it made no sense. She decided, she was like, no, the North still needs its own, it needs to be its own thing. The North will never kneel to anyone anymore. But obviously that's not true, because Sansa is the queen. And you're telling me they're all kneeling to her. So what's the difference of them kneeling to her versus them kneeling to Bran Stark? Just because he's the three-eyed raven, suddenly it changes who he was born as? No, it doesn't. I think the Northerners would have knelt to Bran Stark being on the Iron Throne, because he's a Stark. He's a Northman. Yeah, he's not a Northman anymore. He's a three-eyed raven, which is also stupid why he's even on the throne, because he's the three-eyed raven, and he's just a figurehead, I guess, at this point. He really is not meant to be there.
Yeah. Everybody, they even laughed at the idea of a general election. At an election of everybody gets to vote. So they kind of just called everybody stupid and not able to pick a leader, which goes into your point. They literally laughed, and Sansa even laughed, which means it still is, if the figureheads bow to the king, everybody else will, because they're uneducated and they don't know any better. So she's speaking for the North, but she's actually speaking for herself. I want to rule them, and they want me, and then we're going to kind of go off. But really, if she just would have said, okay, you're my king, they would have followed her, because they're all uneducated. They just laughed at them. Yeah. They literally all laughed at the common folk and compared them to dogs and horses. That's what they did.
Yep.
So that's BS. That's not true. It's just Sansa getting everything she wants. I mean, in terms of an ending, everything's all like everything's jolly. Everybody's having a great council meeting. They're all making jokes.
I mean,
like, the only thing bad is Jon gets sent off and he can never meet them again. But is that true? Because it seems like the Wall has no rules anymore. It's being ruled by what are they called? What's the Tormund?
The Wildlings?
It's being ruled by there's no laws with the Wall. And firstly, half the Wall's gone. What are they protecting?
Because did you notice part of it was built back, like they were building it back up?
Yeah.
But why? What are you building the wall to protect against now? There's nothing out there.
Like, there's no reason for why people get sent there. There's no jobs or reason to do anything there, because what are you protecting from? Are you like a prison for people who have just done terrible things, and then do you train them in sword combat and that's all? But it's like, well, why can't anybody ever go see Jon again? Is it just because Tyrion...
Well, Arya said not, because she's going west. She's gone.
Yeah, she's gone.
Tyrion said he would go visit Jon, though.
True, right. Yeah. So really, is it that big of a deal for Jon to go? I
don't think it's really that big of a deal. I think it's just saying you can't go home, basically, was his punishment. And
fair, because he killed the queen.
Yeah, but...
No, you can't do that.
I don't know. I think it set it up, Sansa even, to be the new Cersei, because did you notice her crown was pretty much exactly like Cersei's? So
she's still being dressed?
And the way she was dressed is a lot like Cersei's armor kind of thing that she did. And, I mean, I don't know. I feel like in one way or another, Sansa's set up to be the villain. But honestly, the real villain is Bran. Because in the end, he said he knew this was all going to happen. When he was made king, and he said,
Why did you think I came all this way?
Yeah, he said, why did you think I came all this way? So he knew everything that was going to happen. He knew Daenerys was going to go mad and burn the city. He knew he was going to be put as king. And he just sat there and watched.
Really, he's the worst. Tyrion's like, well, he knows everything, and he's got all this wisdom, and he let millions die. He let millions, because he knew it was going to happen, but he just let, what's the difference between the person who kills them all in Daenerys and the dragon versus Bran, who knew it was going to happen and was like, well, I'm just going to sit here in my wheelchair. That'll happen. I'll eventually be king because it's just kind of foretold.
He could have even stopped it in the beginning, too, if he told Jon, shut your face and don't tell secrets.
Yep.
But no, he sat by, he let it happen.
Some plot holes. Should we look at any comments or should we?
There's a lot. Mostly is a lot of you guys saying...
thank you for joining so many freaking people. You guys are killing it.
I know there's a lot saying that this episode was crap, and we agree. It was terrible. Stop lying to yourself. We're not lying to ourselves. We know it's terrible. King's Landing people weren't innocent, though. I agree. They weren't. Those same people were the same people who watched Ned get beheaded and cheered.
Game of jokes. Why should Jon be punished for taking down a brutal murder? Well, he still killed a queen.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
But, yeah. Again, though, King's Landing people aren't innocent, per se, but they're also just told what they're told and believe what they're told.
Watch the episode again. One of the fortifications in the background have holes in the walls for Renaissance cannons. It's the R word. Man. I know. I feel like they did. We were trying to look out to see if any of the
costume is too advanced for medieval period. We were trying to look out. That's too advanced and not advanced at certain points.
We were trying to look out for the ghost things to see if there was any last minute things. And the only thing I could think of is, he did knock Jon over and Jon was smiling. There was clear interaction, so I think they're safe there. When Jon knelt down, though, that could have been anybody because the camera was facing his back. So I don't think this was just shoehorned in, because I do think there was an actual scene there, but still, the way they handled it, all together.
Also, one moment that stood out to me, too, was Drogon was covered, I assume that was ash.
Yeah, how long to clean away city of ash.
He was covered in ash at that moment. How long was Daenerys standing there walking up before Jon made it to her at that point? Because Jon had to go through all those conversations to finally find her to find to the throne. But then somehow he walked up as she walked up to the throne.
Yep. Yeah, they got there at the same time. A lot of it honestly made...
we were going to see Drogon again where Bran said, I'll find him. I thought it was going to be actually the dumbest moment where Bran was going to do the eye thing, and suddenly we were going to see Drogon. Oh my God, that would have been so...
When he said, like, I'll look for him or I'll find him or something, I half did expect his eyes to roll up, and like, just this awkward thing.
And I thought everyone was going to be like,
oh my God.
Let's continue the conversation past Bran back there. I thought it was going to be like that awkward moment, But no, we didn't get to see Drogon. I assume he's just Norman Batesing it up, talking to his dead skeleton mom.
Hold on. One of the last things. There's too little rubble on Cersei. That was one of the things that made no sense. Their faces, their entire body should have just been flat as flat.
Not even flat, just crushed.
Yeah, their face should not have been recognizable because the rocks collapsed. So yeah, when they showed his arm and then when they showed Cersei's face, I told Christy, I said, why is her face recognizable? Yeah. It shouldn't even be recognizable.
Why was Tyrion able to even walk down there? Because everything above had crashed down. And if that ceiling had imploded on them, then wouldn't there be a gaping, hole in the ceiling?
Yeah. And all of the rocks were like brick size, like this big. Big enough for him to move, but no like mass. It's not like the wall fell and then like every brick was small enough for him to be able to pick it.
Every brick was the exact same size too. Yeah. It was like perfectly brick by brick. And then all of a sudden he just started smashing them. Like I guess that's the beetle thing again. Yeah. Targaryens are dead now, unless the theory of Tyrion being a Targaryen. Don't know.
When Bran was crowned king, I turned off the sound to not die cringing. Yeah, I know he was like smiling and oh my God.
I feel like he's evil in a way. He wanted to be king. He kept saying, I don't want it, but he wanted it.
He's like, I don't really want anything. I just want to sit in this wheelchair. And he even said that afterwards. He's like, you're going to be my hand because you don't want to be the hand, but I don't want to be the king, so we're even. So you have two people that basically just admit to everybody in the room, you don't want your jobs, but yet they're going to have their job. Yeah. Like, anybody else there would have been more qualified. I mean,
thought they pulled it all together pretty well. Then you probably shouldn't be here because
we're pretty
that's not what we
agree.
This. Bran wanted to become king. Tywin plot confirmed.
It's such a crappy ending. Yeah. I mean, not much more to say, honestly. I mean, we were a lot of great shots. Looked great. Some good moments. Saying goodbye to Arya and Jon, I think, is hands down the best. But just, all these episodes have led up to this.
What happened to her horse?
Yeah, really.
She was walking through the rest of it, so where did she ditch the horse
I thought about that
because
too.
It was such a moment at the end there, and then all of a sudden, like, I thought it was supposed to be some kind of a symbolism or something with the horse, but no.
And we did the wizardy thing where they show Jon and then they kind of go over and Arya's just standing there. Like, I get it. She's got, like, mystical powers and stuff, but she literally just appeared there like a wizard or like a teleportation.
Bran is qualified. He has the lessons of all history. Has he?
Does he?
I think Bran is qualified to be king because history repeats itself. I agree with that statement, and I agree that Bran has the lessons of all, thousands of generations to be a great ruler. But how it was set up is just stupid. All he did was sit in a wheelchair. He literally helped no one, helped nothing. He screwed up in his three-eyed raven training in the first place and got marked by the Night King. He screwed up the entire thing, and then during the battle of the Night King, he didn't do anything except sit at a tree, and then he was like, I'm going to go now, and then he disappeared into ravens and just flew around. He could have warged into a dragon. He's proven he could warge into people because he took over Hodor, but yet he did nothing except fly around in ravens and like, you know what, this battle's going to go crazy here, so I'm just going to go check out the rest of the world, I guess.
The character of the three-eyed raven and like what he's supposed to be would be the perfect king because he does know. It actually should be literally the word perfect because nothing should ever go wrong because you can see what's going to happen. You can see, but the way they wrote it,
but I mean, at the same time, Bran can't because you can't interfere with things that should happen. But how does Bran know what should happen at this point?
Yeah.
So
he just kind of sees what happens.
I just think the way they set up Bran was stupid. I think him being on the throne as the history and everything makes sense. He will be wise, but the way they did it was ridiculous. I know that he was the bait for the Night King too. I read that, but even then, he still didn't do anything. And he even, I mean, we already talked about that episode to say how much of a ridiculous it was.
Yep. Pretty crazy, guys.
Targaryen the 6th and Bran as a conqueror would have been better.
Drogon and Ghost, the only characters to stay true to themselves all 8 seasons. Yep.
Except poor Ghost lost an ear. Where did he lose the ear? I don't know because we literally didn't get to see anything. I miss Tywin and Joffrey. You know what? I miss Joffrey. Happy birthday to that guy, by the way. Today is his birthday.
Wow. Just crazy, guys. So, well, I think we pretty much covered it, right?
I feel the Night King rubbed off on Bran when he touched him and made him evil. You know what? I would have been okay with that. Honestly, I've heard a lot of theories where Bran walks up to the throne, like he gets up, walks up to the throne, and his eyes turn blue. I would have taken that. That would have been amazing. I would have loved that. But in the end, we got what we got, and that's the finale for us. Yeah, so that's pretty much there.
So we want to honestly thank every one of you guys for watching. We've never been anywhere close to this number, so we really appreciate you watching live. We are going to have a video tomorrow talking about everything wrong with this season. We're going to have a couple videos throughout this week talking about Game of Thrones and all stuff like that. So we're not done with our Game of Thrones content. So we'll have like normal videos. I want to talk about Star Wars too, the future of Star Wars with these writers. So a lot of really exciting things, and you guys killed it with all the Game of Thrones content we've produced so far. And coming to this live stream, I mean, we've obviously never been like this. So we really, really appreciate you guys' support. We hope that you guys stick with us, even though Game of Thrones is over. We'll be covering the prequels and stuff like that. So hopefully we don't lose you guys now that the show is over. But we got a lot more coverage to come, and we're going to have a lot more videos. So make sure you guys subscribe, hit the bell icon so you guys are know when we're going to make those videos. And we really, really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you.